So I was researching today and stumbled on this on Twitter and decided to share it with you. This was posted by Bad Bunny, who is apparently a Twitch streamer. It has 566 likes as of the time that I took this screenshot, and has been retweeted 1,600 times. I wanted to share it because this personifies one of the major problems that I've been noticing when it comes to the left, and many leftists, and obviously many people on the right, have also noticed that this is a serious problem. But let's start with what she said in her tweet. 11 ways fascists and their sympathizers are defending Kyle Rittenhouse. If you see anyone using these, don't waste your time on them. Don't debate them. Don't try to teach them. Don't defend them. Know you are dealing with fascism. Block and run the other direction. This kind of goes back to what I've been saying for a while, that the current left is behaving like a religion. This is exactly the sort of thing that a theocrat during the Satanic Panic would have said. Don't expose yourself to anything that opposes our viewpoints. Run the other direction, because you're dealing with Satan. So, let's go ahead and get into a little bit of what she said here. Apparently you are a fascist if you defend Kyle Rittenhouse by saying, 1, he was acting in self-defense or defending property. That makes you a fascist to this person. Now, it's important to understand, if the situation was reversed, some of us have discussed this, what if Gage Grosskreutz shot Kyle Rittenhouse? Then, this person would be advocating that Gage Grosskreutz, an admitted member of Antifa, was merely defending himself and should be let off. There's no coherence to this. There's no, it's just basically a total state of hypocrisy in the way that they think. So apparently, acting in self-defense, if you are being attacked by anybody this person believes to be their ally politically, regardless of what that person did in their lives outside of activism, you are a fascist. Number 2, he was crying real tears. So observing that Kyle Rittenhouse was crying and believing that they were real means you're a fascist. 3, he deserves due process. Now this is one of my favorites, because the left in particular right now is hyper-focused on the issue of our criminal justice system and how it needs improvements. But if you were to suggest that somebody who is her political opponent, in her view, deserves due process, you are a fascist. Despite the fact that due process itself is one of the key cornerstones of any free, non-fascist society. It also kind of points to what I've been observing for quite some time, which is that most of these people would simply want Kyle killed. As has been demonstrated by Black Lives Matter and Antifa repeatedly, if you attend a riot and you do anything to interfere with what they are doing, you deserve to die. I'm not saying that to be hyperbolic. That is what they say when they don't think anybody's listening, and that is what is implied here. You don't deserve due process if we don't agree with you. 4, this isn't about white supremacy. In parentheses, the victims were white. There's no evidence of white supremacy. There isn't. He was there defending the property of a person of color. More specifically, an immigrant. So where's the white supremacy? And if to ask this question proves you are a fascist, see what I said earlier about this being a religion that is conducting a crusade that holds inquisitions to find blasphemers to label heretics for excommunication, which is what she's suggesting when she just says block and run the other direction, and has been proven by Michael Reinhold murdering Jay Danielson and the stabbing that just happened in LA. They're only going with excommunication for the time being because they don't have the power to execute people that they determine to be blasphemers in this religion. Five, he's being vilified by the media. We don't know all the facts. How is this evidence of fascism? Now, this is actually something that if it happened to a person of color, or anybody identified as her political ally, she would be complaining if this was happening to them. In fact, she probably assumes that any person of color in the media getting attention for being a criminal is being vilified, and that they wouldn't know all the facts. Suggesting that people might, want to investigate and be sure that somebody is actually guilty is apparently a sign of fascism in this woman's mind. Now, this next part is going to lead to me having to explain what she means by sea lioning, but essentially, sea lioning means somebody who's asking incessant questions to troll you. The concept is actually overused quite a bit in leftist circles right now to avoid debating. If you continually ask pertinent questions, relevant questions that are not convenient to their perspective, then they accuse you of sea lioning. What are these pertinent questions that mean you're just trolling? How is Kyle racist? It's not a valid question to question if somebody is racist. Well, don't forget, if she's an influencer in this cult, then she's one of the appointed clergy. And if you dare to speak against her assessment of somebody being a blasphemer, you too are a blasphemer. Therefore, you're a fascist for asking how Kyle Rittenhouse is racist. For asking how this is white supremacy. Why would anybody ask that? Well, maybe it's because, as I already previously stated, he was in fact protecting the business of a person of color. How was he not acting in self-defense? How in the hell is this not a valid question to anybody talking about this? Now, I know how. It's because people who've been indoctrinated this far into the left, and I exposed this in some of my earlier videos, where I show you conversations of Antifa discussing this. They openly say that anybody that they determine to be a fascist does not have a right to self-defense. That's not hyperbolic. I can prove it. So, or other incessant questions. Do not question the narrative, or you are a fascist. We, the appointed clergy of this inquisition and witch hunt, have told you that he is a fascist, white supremacist, and racist. Do not question us, or you will be punished. That's how these people operate. This next one is my favorite. The facts of the case. So bringing up the facts of the case, in this issue or any, makes you a fascist. What the fuck? I seriously, I can't even be like, I can't even be nice about this. Don't bring up the facts of the case, or you are a fascist. So the facts are not relevant. Do not bring up the facts. If someone brings up the facts with you, don't debate them, don't try to teach them, don't defend them, block them, because you are dealing with fascism. Censor them. Censor the facts. And if you don't do this, you're a fascist. Number 8. Put yourself in his shoes, if it were me. Why is this a bad question? Why does this make you fascist? This is the question that the people allegedly, acting in the name of social justice, want us to do with people of color, with transgendered people, with gay people, and I would agree. People need to do that. People need to have empathy. But you've determined, in your witch hunt, in your inquisition, that Kyle Rittenhouse is a fascist, and anyone who would defend him in these ways that you are listing is a fascist. Ridiculous. Number 9. The victims were no angels. So to point out that the victims were no angels makes you a fascist. Never mind the fact that they're not. Never mind the fact that, for example, Joseph Rosenbaum was a child rapist, yet for some reason the left is still honoring him and memorializing his death. That Anthony Huber was guilty of domestic violence against women. Now these are things that are supposed to get you canceled, yet they're still honoring these people and lionizing them as if they were heroes. Now, it is certainly true that their history is not relevant to the case, but neither is Kyle's. Number 10. But I thought you were anti-prison. This apparently means you're a fascist. If you bring up the fact that people on the left who have their heads way up their anal cavities, and not all the people on the left, this is not actually a whole leftist position, I certainly don't hold it. Bringing up the fact that the left's narrative is that you are anti-prison. What would they do with somebody like Kyle in their society if they had it their way and there were no prisons? Well, we've already been over that. Back when we were discussing the issue that if anybody disagrees with you, they don't deserve due process, kill them. And number 11, the court system is impartial, and if he is acquitted, we must respect the results. Now, you could argue back and forth that there are problems in the court system. That much is certainly clear. I would say this case has done a great deal to bring people awareness of just how bad prosecutors can actually be and how dishonest they could be. Which is one of the reasons why I feel 11 is a straw man. I've literally never heard anybody argue that the court system is impartial. But I will say that leading up to this, an awful lot of leftists have stated to me that you'll see when he goes to prison for life. You'll see. Yet now that it doesn't look like he will, or it's entirely possible that he won't, it's all about how bad the court system and the judge is. Because in their minds, the judge did bad things, like not allow evidence that they wanted to bring forward about things that Kyle did that have absolutely nothing to do with what happened in Kenosha, because they feel that would be relevant. They do not, however, want us to bring up Joseph Rosenbaum forcibly sodomizing 5 boys between the ages of 9 and 11 years old, Anthony Huber choking his girlfriend, taking a knife and sticking it to his brother's throat and telling him he would gut him like a pig if he did not clean a room. They don't want us to discuss those things. Now, I would argue that neither of those things is relevant to the case. But they would like it if that's the way it was. They would be totally fine with this judge if he was just allowing them to bring in anything they could to demonize Kyle. And the reason why they're doing that is that this is not about whether or not Kyle is guilty of murder. It's about whether or not Kyle is guilty of having political beliefs that are not aligned with this fucking moron. And anybody who follows her. You're all idiots. You're all brainwashed. Rethink this. Because there was a time when the right would have loved to have killed anybody who even sniffed of communism in this country. We call it McCarthyism. Look it up. Dipshit.